Hey everyone, I hope you had a great week, and thank you to all of you who tuned in for our 500 sub special last week. If you haven't checked it out already, it has Power Ranger inspired Gmax forms and some story spoilers for our region. This week though, I'm going to tackle everyone's favorite angsty electric type. No, not Emolga. That's anarchist, not angst. There's a huge difference. No. Today, we are going to create a regional Luxray evolution. Here's the thing about Shinx, Luxio, and Luxray. They aren't just popular, they're beloved. Sure, they may not be everyone's favorite Pokemon, but I don't think you can find a single soul who doesn't think that Luxray looks friggin' cool. Its raw aura is undeniable, and that black fur speaks to my soul. That means I have to be really careful with how radically we change the base design of these Pokemon, and the final product really needs to respect its origins in order for it to be well received. There are a couple different things I want to change with Wentano and Shinx. First, we're going to increase the fluff, as this little guy needs to precede what will come next. I give it little tufts of fur on its cheeks to heighten the lynx-like appearance and give it an immediate silhouette shift from Sinnoh and Shinx. You probably also immediately pick up on the shift in Shinx's black fur, which has now been turned white. This is because we're going to add an ice typing that it's gained over the years spent on top of Wentanoan mountains. I find it particularly interesting, but due to either a strong emphasis in science classrooms or frequent use in movies as a plot point, most people know that water is an excellent conductor. This is true, but only when it's a liquid. It may or may not surprise you to learn that this is ice, and ice is frozen water, which is not a great conductor. This is because the ions that can flow freely in liquid water are held much firmer in place as ice, and it takes a lot more energy for electricity to flow through these ions. You may now believe that an electric ice type maybe isn't that effective of a combo for a Pokemon. But just wait. I've got something big planned that will shock your socks off. Just you wait. Plotting aside though, you guys are apparently mad that we don't talk enough about the science of weather on this channel. You talk too much about animal physiology, they say. Oh, look at CJ with his unending knowledge about organic structures. You guys think I don't know my stuff, don't you? Well, my Shinx has quite the special ability, and I think I can knock out any enemy cold with just one move. Freezing fog might sound scary, and it kind of is. It's a fog so cold that any moisture inside of it immediately freezes on contact with almost anything. This initial layer of ice is pretty thin. It's not like you get frozen immediately if you walk into the fog. It has been known to leave layers of ice on anything it rolls over, though. This is like sidewalks, cars, trees. You get it. Wentano and Shinx has the ability to generate a much more intense freezing fog that obscures your vision and leaves much more significant ice behind. Maybe not freezing living things immediately, but it wouldn't be long before you are. Meet Wentano and Shinx, the Winter Flash Pokemon. Wentano and Shinx are quite comfortable in their mountaintop home in Wentano. Both when hunting and when fleeing, they are known to create a freezing fog that obscures them. Anything enveloped in this fog will immediately have a thin layer of ice crawl over it, and extended times in this fog can lead to fully encased beings of ice, unable to break free. They are generally found near the snow line that separates forests from permanently snowy peaks in the Wentano region. Let's talk about Luxio. As far as middle stage Pokemon go, I think that OG Luxio is actually pretty cool. It feels like a transition stage for sure, but at the same time, I like the amount of personality that it has. For my Luxio, I wanted to flip its original disposition, turning it from having a permanent scowl on its face to being a little bit happier. You'll also notice some small teeth protruding from its lips. I am not trying to make a saber-toothed tiger. I actually think that Xianpao is incredible, and I don't want to step on its turf. These teeth are intended to pay homage to the origins of incredible North American cats, but on a much smaller level. With Shinx specifically, the lynx heritage is spelled out in the name, but Luxray ends up sharing a much closer resemblance to lions, and so does Luxio. Their fabulous manes are, well, they're fabulous, but I saw this as an opportunity to make the definitive lynx Pokemon for the Wentano region. I decided to also pull in some inspiration from the Canadian lynx, which can be found in areas like Colorado, but are generally rare in the United States. This is because the Canadian lynx is much more suited to the dense forests combined with the snow up north. This is why I've turned Luxio's original black shoulder stripes into much denser furry patches. I really want to lean into the winterized lynx Pokemon vibe and make sure that this new white fur becomes the highlight of these designs. The fur on its head now also crests into a single point on top. This is intended to represent a mountaintop, and I imagine that if you continue the jagged fur pattern that stems from Luxio's cheeks, then the white fur on its head would resemble the top of a snowy peak. One thing that is very cool is that the bobcat and the Canadian lynx as well are likely in the Americas because of the Bering Land Bridge. If you don't know what that is, it was a strip of land that existed up until 11,000 years ago that would have connected Russia to Alaska, but had since been covered because of prehistoric global warming. And when I say covered, I mean by the ocean. The ancestors of these cool cats would have crossed over this bridge into North America, which is how we have 4 different species of lynx across the northern hemisphere and across the ocean. I imagine that this is how Wentanoan Shinx and its evolutions came into this region as well. They traveled from Sinnoh across a land bridge that once connected the 2 regions, but has since disappeared. I probably could have also brought this up with Shinx, but these Pokemon's tails are no longer flat star shapes and instead are more like yellow shards, much more geometric and 3D compared to their Sinnohan counterparts. These tails almost look like electricity frozen solid up close. Is that even possible? No, not really, but I do imagine that these ice crystals can hold electricity and even glow at night as needed. Meet Wentanoan Luxio, the Winter Spark Pokemon. Wentano and Luxio have a particularly unique hunting strategy. They are known for creeping up on groups of prey and unleashing an electrical attack to paralyze them all at once. A freezing fog will then roll over the group, freezing them in place and allowing Luxio to capture large groups of food without any escaping from its frozen paws. Contact with them can be incredibly dangerous and is not advised. Now the moment you've all been waiting for, Luxray. This is where we start to see more of the bobcat inspiration for this Pokemon come through. You see, bobcats are actually quite adaptable and are known to eat a variety of small mammals across a variety of biomes, from swamps to deserts to mountains. Canadian lynx, on the other hand, are much more specially adapted to live in dense forests and survive on a diet of basically just snowshoe hares. Essentially, what I'm looking for is a Pokemon that can possess the capabilities of a Canadian lynx, but also has the spotted patterns of a bobcat, as that will help it differentiate from Sinnoh and Luxray. You'll also notice that this Pokemon's tail is shorter than Sinnoh and Luxray's. It may not be by much, but lynx have shorter tails than their fellow big cats, and they tend to have much thicker fur that runs along them. This, combined with their star-shaped crystals at the end of this Pokemon's tail, are just one of the many features that I'm trying to make small tweaks to. You'll also notice that the fur on the back of this Pokemon's body is much thicker and fluffier. This isn't accomplished by just adding more fur. What's really important to sell this concept is going to be the shape of the fur. You see, standard Luxray has very spiky, almost sharp-looking fur. I'm trying to use more rounded shapes so that this isn't as form-fitting around the body. Outside of its spikes, Sinnoh and Luxray's fur almost looks like a pattern and less like areas of different types of fur. That's why with Wentano and Luxray, you'll see a much more aggressive transition from the blue area of its body to the white, much denser fur-covered areas of its body. I really want to emphasize these round, fluffy shapes to help it differentiate and stand out. I've also reduced the size of the mane that comes off of the back of Luxray's head and instead transitioned that fur into some pretty killer sideburns. These are a real structure that all types of lynx have in some variation, and I love how they naturally turn into lightning bolt shapes. My stockier, fluffier lynx is literally king of the mountain. But how does it maintain its throne? This is where I'm going to introduce you to one more weather concept called Thundersnow. We couldn't get the AC/DC rights. I know have the money. But that is what it's actually called, Thundersnow. This refers to a snowstorm with thunder, or thunderstorm with snow. Really, they're the same thing. But it's a pretty rare phenomenon in nature. This is because the cold air needed to make snow is dense, and it's less likely to rise and create the friction needed for thunder and lightning. It does happen, though, all over the world, but in the United States, it's most commonly happening in Utah and Nevada, which fall just within the boundary of our inspiration for the Wentano region. Here's what I imagine. Wentano and Luxray takes the freezing fog concept to a whole nother level and has the ability to whip up massive thunder snowstorms. In fact, some say that they are the reason that the mountaintops of Wentano are permanently covered in snow. I imagine that these peaks will be the perfect place to hide some more of our ancient artifacts. You and your Pokemon will have to traverse intense weather just to summit the peak, and even then, who knows if Luxray is going to allow you entrance into its sanctum. Only one way to find out. I'm getting to the point where I have my 3rd or 4th regional form and my 2nd or 3rd convergent form. I don't know the limits for a given region, so I might have to pull back and make sure we're generating enough original Pokemon too. What are your thoughts, though? Is there such thing as too many regional or convergent Pokemon? Meet Wentano and Luxray, the Stormy Eyes Pokémon. Wentano and Luxray have immense weather-generating capabilities due to their combined ice and electric typings. A phenomenon called Thundersnow can be witnessed at the top of the Wentanoan mountain range, where this Pokémon lives, and they seem to be the source of it. Snow falls daily on the peaks that this Pokémon resides in, creating them the perfect hunting ground. And there you have it, folks. A regional Luxray line that is quite the powerhouse. While ice may not conduct electricity, these Pokémon sure know how to make the most of both. As the living embodiment of Thundersnow, or Thundersnow, which you can ignore that. Anyways, Luxray stands out. I love to picture a group of people, feet away from summiting the peak, cowering as a massive storm swirls around them. Standing on this peak, amidst the furious clouds, Wentano and Luxray's silhouette is made visible by the crackling of lightning as its eyes glow furiously. This image is just powerful. I love it. I hope you guys do too, and resonate with this version of Luxray. Let me know what you think, and give me a comment below. Again, too many regional, too many convergent forms? I don't know where the line is. But if you subscribe, you can help me figure it out. Until next time, thank you. I hope you like what I've made, and I can't wait to see you create something of your own.